Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is Sunday, and it's a cloudy day, which I'm really enjoying. Nevertheless, today I'm going to talk about how strikingly similar modern schools and modern games are in the 21st century. You see, if I'm going to talk about the original conception of the word school or scholar, it means something like hobby or leisure, which implies that it's fun. It's just fun. You do it because you want to. Nobody forces you to do anything. You do things because you want to do them. Okay? You do it out of love, out of passion, out of, the desire to experience learning any particular subject. So that's the original conception. However, modern schools are just so different, in my perspective at least. In modern schools, you are trained to constantly grind. You are taught subjects that you really don't care about, that you don't find useful in any way possible. You are forced or compelled to memorize certain facts that don't make any sense to you and probably just forget after a week. And one day when you get the job, you realize that most of the things that you have seen and heard in school are useless to you. So you reach a point where you realize that in a way you've been deceived and bamboozled and indoctrinated and made to believe things that you really don't believe and you've never really believed in. But of course, I'm not saying that academic subjects are completely useless. It's just that if you're going to think about it, for example, if you happen to, find yourself working as an accountant, then you see that chemistry doesn't help you, and trigonometry doesn't help you. It just doesn't. Okay, and if you find yourself working as a, let's say, a service crew in a particular restaurant or fast food chain, then you realize that all these weird characters that you've come across in your literature classes are completely meaningless to you. Okay, and so modern schools are not fun. They only force and compel you to do things that you don't like. Probably. If that's what they do to children. Nobody really gets excited to know that they have more homeworks or more projects to work on. And they are conditioned to believe that, their academic scores or marks somehow reflect the value of their being or their existence as students. And so it's a constant grueling process of proving oneself that one is capable of submission and obedience without questioning, at least without questioning loudly. And to a certain degree, modern games are quite the same. And it's insane because if you're going to think about you probably know this well. If you're going to think about why games exist and what they are for, they're meant to be enjoyed. They are hobbies. They're they're passions. They are things that you are passionate about, and you spend time doing. Maybe after a day of work or schooling. You play games not because anyone tells you to do so, but because you really want to do so. But then now, you are given, weird tasks in modern games. Your level is shown on screen, and there are DLCs or downloadable content and season passes that you are subtly told to buy because they make you want to believe that you need them, and you have this fear of missing out, which doesn't really make any sense, because if you're going to think about it, who cares what they think, right? But then people are conditioned to believe that they just have to keep grinding, and they just have to keep leveling up, they just have to keep improving, they just have to keep getting better, they just have to keep buying more season passes and DLCs. And it's now a constant grind. It's not even a game anymore. It's about proving to others that you can do this certain combo, or you have matchup knowledge of this character versus that character, or that you can execute a death combo, or you can, you have this, rank, like you're a Tekken god or whatever. It's insane if you're going to think about it. You're conditioned to keep grinding, to keep engaging, where in a way that makes you feel compelled in a very toxic way. Because if you're going to compare modern games to what you might call classic games or traditional games, they're so different. So for example, in Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag 1, there are no ranks. There just aren't ranks. Yes, there are tiers, but they are indifferent. Way back in the days of Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag 1, people talked about, which characters could do more damage, or which character which was much faster than that character. But that was pretty much it. And nobody really cared, really. Especially outside of, maybe people who made some money out of tournaments, right? But nobody really cared. People played whoever they wanted, really. Because there really was nothing to prove. And if you wanted to prove anything, well, it was your choice, not anyone else's. Okay, I never felt compelled to prove myself in Tekken Tag 3 and Tekken Tag 1. And not even in Tekken 5 and Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection. Yes, there were ranks, but I was completely indifferent to it. And I and my friends simply enjoyed playing those games. But now, in modern gaming, especially online gaming, like for example Tekken 8, people have to prove that they can do this, that they can do that they can do Korean backdash, and if they can't do Korean backdash, they're not playing. But if you're going to think about it, it's weird. It's weird because, like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't or you should not. I'm not saying that you ought not to learn anything. Like, for example, if learning how to do a Korean backdash is something that you genuinely enjoy, then go ahead and do it. If you want to be a professional player and you think that learning a Korean backdash is a necessity and you really enjoy it, then go ahead and do it. But these things, Korean backdash, wave dashing, and things of this kind, they are optional. Death combos are optional. Even doing any combos is optional, really. You do them because you really want to, not because, like you have to prove something to your neighbor or some random stranger online whose face you don't even see. That's modern gaming now. It's a grind. Well, of course, I'm not saying that nobody's having fun. It's just that it's now filled with, like, things that make people feel unwelcome. That if they don't do Korean backdash, they're not welcome to play the game. And if they cannot do high-level execution, then, quote-unquote, they're not playing the game. Or they don't know how to play the game. But guess what? Nobody really, beginners and newcomers don't really know how to play. Yeah, by that I mean, let me illustrate, way back in Tekken 3, I didn't even know how to do a quarter circle forward. I didn't know. And it took me like hours and days and even weeks just to do that on a D-pad. And my thumb hurt. Literally. I had blister. And so I had like a blister here. I had a blister on this thumb, my left thumb. But by just trying to execute a Phoenix Smasher or a Death Fist way back in Tekken 3. It was odd. But I did it not because anyone compelled me to, but because I really wanted to do so. It just looked cool to me. The Death Fist, and then the on counter hit, the shake would, it would, the camera would zoom in, you would see it happening, and boom. It just looked cool to me, and I wanted to do it. Okay, I never was compelled to do anything. And then I learned strings, basic strikes, basic combos, basic kicks. Not because I was compelled to, but because I really wanted to do so. That's how it was like. I felt like I was really playing. I was having fun. During those days, the days of Tekken Tag 1, Tekken 3, and even Tekken 5, and Tekken 5 DR. But now it's different. It's a constant grind, it's a constant process of comparison, it's a constant process of buying DLCs, it's a constant process of, complaining about patches and wanting patches and, complaining about some characters being broken, some characters being underpowered. It's a world of complaining and grinding and, constant heated and toxic arguments. But way back then, in the days of Tekken Tag 1 and Tekken 3, at least in my experience, it simply didn't exist. I and my friends simply played. We played. We lost, we won, but we all enjoyed it. And I wish that it were the same, for people who play modern Tekken games. And modern games in general, really. Okay, thank you very much for listening.